So, all right. Okay, let's begin. Thanks for everyone for coming for this. This is a particularly important meeting as we want to decide on the block reward. How should it be divided on the halving, which is coming in September-ish. It's pretty important. So we've already had almost like a year of feedback, and I think it's about time we make a decision. Okay. Pike is asking how to join. Can you give him the instructions, Marcus? Yeah. Okay. So let's get right into it. Okay, just some ground rules. Of course, always be polite, even if you disagree. There's no reason not to be polite. We're going to be following the agenda. So we will always have a session at the end if you want to bring up other matters, but we don't want to get dislodged because we're respectful of everyone's time. Turn off your mic, or rather, mute your mic when you're not talking. Don't interrupt until the question sections. They will be several, so there will be definitely time to ask questions. And if you are going to bring up a point, or bring up some discussion, please aim to be concise and to the point, because we want to try to keep this within 1.5 hours. But we'll see how that goes. Okay. Right. So, very quick agenda, just to run through all of this. The development update. We'll kind of browse through this because I think most of it is actually in our development update on our blog. And just to sort of give a quick recap. Recent events is also probably only going to be in like another 2 or 3 minutes, and I want to dedicate the most of this discussion to the block reward division and some of the things to consider when making that decision. Does anyone have anything that they want to bring up and add to this agenda? I'll wait for a short while. Let's see. I'm only going to be monitoring. Okay, no one's bringing up everything, so I'm assuming this agenda is accepted. And let's go on. All right, so first of all, we'll just be quickly covering development. Yep, sorry, you were saying something?
Sorry, no. Just had a error on the.
Okay. All right, so the first thing is that deterministic Z nodes and long-lived master node quorums are almost ready. The testnet is up and running, and it looks pretty close to complete. We are going to do a massive stress test on Monday and Tuesday and do some final checks, making sure compatibility is there. We do intend to kind of release in the first week of May, give and take. And after that, there'll be, once we release the binaries, that means if everyone's available to download the new program, there'll be 3 weeks to update and register your new Z nodes, and then after that there'll be additional 3 weeks for the new Z nodes to sort of kick in. So there'll be one point where both the old Z nodes and the new Z nodes are running in parallel. Don't worry, you only need one VPS to run both of them, but just that the old system will be running together with the new system. So at the end of the 6 weeks, that means what will happen is that we will move to the new deterministic master node system completely, and the old Z-node system will be deactivated. So that's the rough plan for that. Hopefully we won't encounter any big bugs as we test in the next 1 or 2 weeks. We have the Z-Note 2 for those of you who are using the hardware wallet being updated around 1 to 2 weeks. Should be done by then. And LMQ is also working already. The only thing that we're slightly behind is the rich GUI client, or now what we call the Electron Zcoin client. We are planning to just get a very rough basic display, which will give you the same sort of information as on the QT client. And we would like to develop a more wizard type of guide. I think some of you, Zenote keeper have been saying that, oh, this needs to be made more simple. We're going to see if we can make this process a lot more streamlined and easier for newbies to think. Arcadia is providing quotes for that, and hopefully you'll get back to us in the next few days or so. Okay. All right. Okay, now we're moving to the next slide, which is the Lantus integration. We are proceeding relatively smoothly there. Of course, right now we're focusing a lot on the deterministic Z nodes, but we have made some progress on the Lantus integration. We've kind of decided roughly how we want to do it. So for those who don't know, and this gets a bit technical, but the basic idea is that we want to be able to batch verify. That means when we take a lot of the Lantus proofs, instead of verifying them one by one, which can be very intensive, we have to have ways to kind of gather them all together and verify at one time, which greatly reduces the time needed to verify. So just to sort of give an idea of how much savings you can get, let's say if one proof takes about 600-700 milliseconds to verify, and you do it in a batch, each additional one on top of that takes maybe 30 to 50 milliseconds or so. So it's a huge efficiency gain. So it'll be done first of all when syncing. And it would also be done on the transaction basis. So a transaction may include several spans, and that will all be batched together. Okay, so our goal is to make sure that each transaction should not take more than 1 second to verify, and that's actually already kind of implemented already. The anonymity set that we have decided upon is 64,000 with a sliding window of 16K. That means as the 64,000 is being reached, there will be a window where a new anonymity set is set. So what this means is that at the very minimum, you would get an anonymity set of around 16,000 with a maximum of 64,000, which we think is a good balance between performance and anonymity. Now, we want to move towards privacy on by default. I wouldn't go through this all in very detail. I just want to go through it. But the idea is that every time when you start the wallet, it will prompt you for your password and you will automate all the funds that are not in Z nodes. That means we want to move towards a privacy on by default. Of course, we would have a setting to disable the automate, which will nag you again to re-enable it. But the idea is that as a privacy coin, we want much more transactions being used in Lantus. We have also other stuff that kind of helps to improve the anonymity and also prevents pattern recognition between the mints and the spans. But I wouldn't go into them. But it's all in the particular slide right now. Okay, and we also want to make sure that the Lantus span should be the default send. It should not be a separate tab. We want the Lantus to be, if you're using our wallets, that should be the general way to do it. And we should be able to get much more adoption of our privacy transactions. Right. So this is just going to like quick thing. We recently had a addition of a USDT pair on Binance, which is pretty awesome. We have been trying to get this for a very long time, and we finally got it. We didn't have to pay anything for it. We met their requirements, so that's really great. And I think it would definitely improve liquidity for Binance. I mean, for Zcoin on Binance. So that's great news. We also got recently listed on VertBase. VertBase is available in 42 states out of 50 in the US, which allows you to link your bank account directly to buy Zcoin directly with US dollars. Or if you're in Europe, I think they're launching in Europe where you can just like pay in euros or pounds to get Zcoin directly. So it's almost like a Coinbase, but it's VERT based. And it's great that they have Zcoin support. So I recommend that if anyone's in the European countries or in any of the states in the US states, to please support VertBase. I think they're pretty cool guys. And they have very competitive rates. We've been also getting a lot of coverage on really good sites. So, for example, the Unqualified Opinions is by Masari. We got like an interview there. We got on the Base Layer podcast, which is actually focusing on institution investor and family offices. So it was great that we managed to get on there. We also had a op-ed on Nasdaq, and we also had an interview on Altcoin Buzz, and we actually have quite a lot of things in the pipeline that we're building. So I do think the awareness of Zcoin is improving. So yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell. Yes. So Receipt has asked, were these publications done via Ditto? So Ditto PR is our PR company currently. The ones they helped us to get on Base Layer and on Masari and on Nasdaq. The Altcoin Bus one was our own. But they're doing a really good job, and even behind the scenes, they have been connecting us to really, really good people, like the head of the person that covers privacy at like CoinDesk, or the person that covers privacy on the Wall Street Journal. So I think this is a long term payoff. We want to be seen as leaders in the space, and definitely we will get better at that. D Holiday, I'll answer your question. Oh yeah, now it's time for questions. Great. So, just any questions regarding the development and recent events? The mobile wallet, basically, we kind of completed the Android build. We are finishing the iOS build relatively soon. We have already submitted a pull request to Edge. They kind of backed up with their own work. And so basically, hopefully, they'll get us merged relatively soon. So to D Holiday's question, will the Lantus help with instant send? No, it does not. But the Lantus should be able to support instant send. So it doesn't help, but it will be supported. Yeah. For hardware wallet, I'm using Inside Under Trezor. Is it fine after the update, or I have to switch to Electron? There will be a Z node, master node too, so you should be fine on that. Yeah. Any other questions in relation to the development? Mm. Is there a Zcoin Light wallet in the works? Yes, we are working on that. We are trying to play around with Fly Client as well. Right now, our focus right now is to focus on the Lantus, but Aram and I have been looking at Fly Client support. Which seems to be more promising than the instant sync, because the instant sync requires ZK snarks and quite complicated stuff. So I was also trying to evaluate which one is easier, and I do think Fly Client seems to be relatively faster and a lot simpler. Any other questions? Is someone monitoring the YouTube, because I just want to make sure that we're not missing any questions there.
Yeah, it's me.
Huh? Just you?
So far, there's no.
No questions there.
Yeah, no questions.
Okay. Did Pike manage to get it?
Yes, he did.
Okay, great. Okay, so if there are no further questions, I will move on to the important thing that we're going to discuss, which is the block reward division. Okay. So before we talk about the block reward division, I just want to kind of go through some of the things that we've been actually thinking about. So, I think when we look at the consensus, everyone's very supportive of a continued development reward, and there is definitely real benefits of having a development reward. First of all, it means there's continued funded development and research, right? I mean, you can't expect people to work for free, and if you take a look at many community projects, it's quite difficult to get sustainable donations. I mean, even a coin that's like $1 billion market cap, like Monero, constantly has to, actively get the community to donate, and it's not easy. Sometimes it's very reliant on very you know like a lot of whales are the ones that are helping to do that, and we don't know whether that's sustainable in the long term, but the dev reward is definitely much more sustainable in that regard. So considering that we are a much smaller coin, to go down through a full donation route may not be possible right now. The dev reward also, gives really a lot of certainty that the project will continue and that we can make long-term hires that we can really invest in, because typically donations are like, comes and goes, or they only funded for like 3 months at a time or stuff like that. So it's quite difficult to give people the certainty or to dedicate their whole life to their working life to developing on Zcoin if we don't have a sustainable source of income, right? And so what are the issues with the development reward? I mean, it's not without its drawbacks. It places very heavy reliance on the core team because we are the ones being paid, we are the ones driving it. It does give us also a lot of clout and say in moving things as it is. It's great for the initial stages of a coin when we're finding the identity, but it also discourages outside developers, because outside developers are like saying, um, the outside developers are like, hey, you guys are being paid, why should I work for free, right? While other projects, may be more like more free open source projects, may be more developers are more willing to dedicate their time. I haven't actually seen um you know a lot. I mean, like, even you talk about Bitcoin, a lot of the Bitcoin developers are also paid by large corporations with that do have an interest in seeing Bitcoin being developed, such as Blockstream, and they also have their own agendas there. So there's a pros and cons, right? And as a privacy coin, especially now, I think as the battle between CBDCs, like central bank digital currencies, and decentralized cryptocurrencies heat up, having a semi-centralized team makes us potentially a target. That's also an issue with the development reward, because if the funding is going to one group of people, that's not as decentralized as everyone just donating and developing, even maybe anonymously. Another issue is that it is effectively a tax on other holders of Zcoin, because with every emission, a part of it goes to us. And a lot of people see the dev reward as negative, like they're saying, oh, it's kind of scammy, you guys are getting really, really rich off it, which we will see later. That's definitely not the case. But especially with the larger projects, it's seen as not as pure, right? Another issue with a development reward is the volatility of the reward actually affects the budget. So, when the price goes up, it's great. When price goes down, it's there. And like recently, with like such a big drop since our all-time high, a lot of our initial projections never actually accounted for falling below like $5 or something like that. So that's also an issue. Now, the other thing that we want to consider is mining. which is why do we like mining? The whole idea, is that first of all, it's seen as an equitable way to distribute your coins, especially in the early days of a cryptocurrency when inflation is relatively high. And I still think it's the best way to distribute coins, without like favoring one party or another, and it helps the build community. So I think that's has been quite an important point of mining. But again, we also have Z nodes, which actually rewards long-term holders, and generally the people who are holding Zcoin are the most Z nodes are the most loyal community members. But the drawback is that it is effectively a centralization of wealth because rich getting richer, and if that becomes too strong and certain project has led to cartels, basically masternode holders being held by very very few people, especially as the price of the coin goes up, and then to get the masternode is really really expensive, right? Like right now it's about what, 4,000 US dollars, which is a lot, but still in the range of many people. But just imagine when it was like $100, it's like 100,000 US dollars, and that's kind of happened with Dash, and it kind of stopped the community growing because they felt like I'm never going to be the elite, and they're like, why should I be a part of a coin if I can't be one of this Z nodes provider? So that's also something to really consider. Okay. Right. So, what we have been kind of trying to mitigate, like the dev reward, is try to explore alternative ways of funding our project. One of it, which has been the Zcoin crowdfunding system, which was inspired and basically a fork of the Monero crowdfunding system. We wanted to see how good it is. The problem with the ZCS is that, well, it is still denominated in Zcoin. Some contractors are not entirely happy to have it denominated in Zcoin. They still have to pay their bills in US dollars, and that's understandable. And the way to submit is still not very user friendly. You need to be like familiar with GitHub and formatting and stuff like that. So it's okay. I think it's an important thing to give it a go. And we have seen some success in the ZCS, but not as much as I would like. But definitely it's an alternative source of funding. Another thing that we just started trying maybe about this month, which is the Zcoin Open Collective, which is a way, kind of like a Patreon for Zcoin. And what that allows people to do is to do recurring fiat payments. So that means, I pay like $5 a month, $10 a month, and that gives us recurring income. And in return, you get like merch, you get like special flares. It's really like approaching like almost like the Twitch Patreon type of model, and at the very high tiers, you get like more detailed development reports. If you want calls with us, you can have that. And so far, even though we haven't really promoted it, so far like All Notes has a Z hosting provider has given us 100 USD a month. Minpon, one of the leading mining posts at 10 USD a month. Arcadia, a big supporter of us, and of a blockchain software development company. And even Noir is actually a fork of Zcoin. And I was like, hey, since you use our technology, do you want to contribute? And they were like, yeah, so it's a small amount, but we really appreciate every little bit. And of course, individuals, we really really appreciate those people who have donated to the project. And if you need those flares, maybe ping Muggles and he will arrange that to be taken up, right? And that's really good. If Open Collective can be a way to get a lot more recurring income, I think that would be a very ideal way to fund development. But we'll have to see. Another bad thing about Open Collective is that they do take a relatively high fee, which is 10%. But they take away all the like paperwork of having a legal entity and all that sort of stuff. So it may be worthwhile. I think it's a reasonable fee for that. And the other concern that we have is that like if privacy coins are banned, Open Collective may be targeted, especially when it relies on credit card processors. So yeah. Let's see. Okay, we actually right now, since does anyone have any questions so far? Let me just take a look.
I don't have a question, but I do have a note about the 10% thing. One of the core tenets of the Open Collective structure is that there's a 501c3 or C3 or C6 entity providing the actual processing for the credit card transactions. So essentially, there's an entity covering Zcoin in that process, right?
Right.
So in the event that there's some sort of issue with the specific entity that's providing Zcoin with coverage, I think that someone on either in the US or in Europe can make a 501c3 or C6 entity to kind of take over in terms of covering Zcoin on Open Collective.
Do you want to explain quickly what the 501c3 organization is?
So there's two types of organizations, 501c6 and 501c3. C6 is the one that is primarily used, which is basically a non-tax exempt organization that's primarily focused towards it's kind of like a business organization. 501c3 is charitable, but 501 with the C3 entity, it's not tax deductible because open source contributions are not considered tax deductible according to the IRS. We need to be saving kittens for that. But right now with the 501c3 entity, there's certain tax benefits for the company that's providing coverage for Zcoin. At the same time, they're able to kind of avoid a lot of the legal elements of things by basically saying, "Hey, we'll service Zcoin, but they're kind of as an organization, they're on their own, but we're just providing the money processing for them for donations."
So just a quick clarification for those of you who will ask, like, why doesn't Zcoin do it itself? Why does it have to go through Open Collective? If we were to set it out ourselves, first of all, opening a bank account for us is really, really, really hard, especially if you want to be upfront about what we do. Like, hey, we are privacy critical. The bank doesn't want to talk to us at all. And not to mention credit card processors are notorious for hating cryptocurrencies. So this is kind of, we think like, okay, if we can do it for a 10% fee, that's worth it. Yeah.
And as a fun little side note, the founder of Open Collective is also someone in the crypto community. I believe she's the founder of Democracy Earth as well.
Yep. Okay. All right. So, all right. Does anyone have any questions? If not, I will continue to present. Okay. Guess not. Right. So the current community sentiment from the forums, I mean, this is obtained from muggers. Discussion has been, ongoing for over a year. I think almost all community members seem to approve of the death fund. Muggers, correct me if I'm wrong. Is there anyone who doesn't want it? Okay, muggers.
No, almost everyone approves. There were a few about a year ago that were
Mhm.
against it, but they seem to have changed their mind or haven't updated their opinion.
Okay. But it's a very small minority, right?
Yeah, one or two people.
Okay. And it's, of course, we did our best to tabulate sentiment, but we placed everyone's percentages on the forums. People have been proposing anywhere between 10 to 15 or even 20% for the debt fund. Minor Z notes have been, between 50 to 55 or 40, 45, and now there's some people talking about 40. Z notes have also been anything between 30 to 40 around there. So it's kind of like the median has been 15 to the dev fund minus 50% and Xenos 35%. So any proposal should be within this within this range. I mean, like plus 5% or so, but no drastic changes there. Okay. And just to sort of like highlight what are the dev fund requirements. Currently, we require about 40,000 USD to cover all current team members, and it's almost it's almost entirely development except me and the support team, and it's lean, but it's okay. 40,000 US dollars to cover the current full-time team members. We spent about 1,000 USD for various infrastructure servers, GitHub, Slack, testnet instances, and all this sort of stuff. It adds up really quickly. It sometimes changes, sometimes 700, sometimes 1,000, but it's generally between there. Now there's about 12,000 USD, which is quite a big expense that we spend on PR, for example, like Ditto, market making, for community managers, and like AMAs, where they expect us to give like some giveaways. That is relatively flexible. Generally, we can bring that down to like 6,000-7,000 or so. So there's some flexibility there. Or if we don't want to do it all, we can take this off completely if we don't have enough budget. But yeah, this is something that is been really good. I'm actually really happy with the PR companies. I would like to try to keep them on as long as we have the budget. And we did negotiate a long-term contract for 6 months with Dito at a very, very, very discounted rate. Yeah. So as a whole, each month, just to maintain all of this, is 53,000 US dollars, and it does not include any conference attendance, or events, or sponsorships, or listings, or anything. So everything else has to be free, or someone else that is donating the money. The reality is that. Sorry.
When you say none whatsoever, is there any plan in the future to create like some sort of emergency fund or some sort of like Zcash style fund for extraneous expenses such as listings and things along those lines?
Definitely, but then
Or
we don't have a lot of overhead right now, emergency fund, right? I mean, the idea was that if we go past 100,000, then we have this other fund that's kind of managed by a separate committee, and then that can be the emergency fund. But that means that we can't automatically call on it until we tell this other committee, hey, look, we need money. Then at least we can't just like go crazy and do what we want with it, right?
do any of the percentage proposals leave enough room for that with the current minimum amount needed for both development, Ditto, and ZCS funding, I guess?
Not at the prices that exchanges have been asking for listing. I mean, incredibly, like people are still asking like for 10 Bitcoin, 15 Bitcoin type of listing for any exchange that is worth to be listed upon, right? Like I think the ones that we are listed, like if the ones that you can kind of pay are maybe like KuCoin, OKX, and those aren't cheap. Anything between 10 Bitcoin, some even 100 Bitcoin. I don't think we should be paying that much. I mean, honestly, we just need to get to a high enough level that we get listed for free. That's one of the things that we have been really mindful about. And then I think I'm not sure how it goes with Coinbase or like for example, Kraken doesn't have a listing fee, Bitfinex doesn't have a listing fee. It's more about connections and finding the right people.
Did you just say BitConnect?
No. I said Bitfinex.
Okay.
Bitfinex, Kraken, and all those like major exchanges that we would like to get on. None of those have any listing fees. It's all about market cap, about liquidity, and the project, right? I I don't know. Does anyone want to see any other exchanges besides KuCoin and stuff like that? Besides Bitfinex and Kraken and stuff like that. In Coinbase.
I'd be interested to see some of those more localized exchanges. I know that those aren't really that popular when it comes to kind of reactions to listings, but they do have an impact in terms of I don't have any specific names, but I know that you guys have a 0x in India. Maybe having some of the local exchanges in other it's
The
called
Indian
like
ones
country specific
were
exchanges.
the Indian ones were asking between 5 to 10 Bitcoin as well. just to let you know. Probably can be. I mean, like the ones that we worked with, that we did get listed on, they didn't require much money, just required some marketing support, which we'd be happy to do so. But then, many of these exchanges, I mean, it would be. I don't want to like call them out, but a lot of the regional exchanges, like in India or in China or in some of the countries, have been asking quite a lot of money. So I don't know. I mean, to me, it's like a chicken and egg, right? Once we get big enough, it doesn't matter. They'll just list us anyway, and it's a lot easier. But it really, really helps when a lot of community members like message them and say, "Hey, rather than us as the project approaching, but if enough people say, look, there's interest in a Zcoin on their platform, then they say, oh, maybe we can make business out of this." One of the things that I'm kind of sad about is, like, for example, with OVEX in South Africa, they listed us for free. They did a lot of work, but we aren't seeing a lot of adoption there. Or even like in Stang, the Zcoin pair is not doing great. I think the only ones that's seeing like a lot of volume, like a regional exchange, is Indodax, which we are quite pleased about. So just to get back on the topic, basically, we can see that to cover this costs, if we have 12% of the block reward, which means to get the same level of funding right now, we are just about breaking even, slightly negative, right? And we wouldn't be able to basically, we don't have any emergency funds. For 15% of the block reward, we do have some extra, which is about like a 10,000 US dollar, which we can set aside for emergency stuff. And hopefully the market takes a turn in the next 1 year or so. But that's how it is. Of course, 20% of the block reward gives us a lot more overhead. But yeah, it's quite a lot of money. It's 86,400 US dollars. That gives us a lot more breathing room, and maybe like some minor marketing and sponsorships and stuff like that. But I think these are the options. I don't think I want to go past 25%. But yeah, let's just move along. So people might ask, okay, like let's say if you get more block reward, or like what would you be spending this on? This is kind of roughly in the order of a priority. One which is additional developers. I would really like people to develop a mobile team, a more dedicated like UI team. It doesn't have to be full time, maybe just like contractors or so, like QA as well. We should be nice to have a QA to help streamline our processes. It would be nice to also have additional cryptographers. We actually have spoken to the few, and they have expressed interest in working with us. But of course, they need money as well, and funding for specific stuff. I think the idea is that you can't just give them open-ended thing. You have to tell them research this, and then we'll pay you this, and then they are much more willing to do it rather than an open-ended research. So we're really, really lucky to have people like Aram that has been really, really a key part of our project. He's also on the call, and I think a lot of Zcoin success, especially with the excitement around the Lantus, is thanks to him, and I'm really, really happy with that. So a quick shout out to him. Code audits also would be really nice. They cost anywhere between 50K to something 150K. So yeah, that's also costing a lot. As you can see, it's not a small expense. We also I would like to have more dedicated marketing teams. Right now, we don't have any at all. But the big question is that should the core team be even involved in marketing, or should that be more organic and stuff like that, right? That's something that needs to be considered. Yeah.
So just a question on the audit side of things. Sorry for interrupting, but what would the scope be on these kind of audits? Would it be covering more of the Sigma protocol or Lantus protocol, or would it be just general?
I really would like to focus on the Lantus integration and the cryptographic libraries for Lantus, especially that. Yeah. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And the last one, which I'm a bit on the fence about, is like greater budget for gaining adoption. There are certain sites that you can get on, which are like payments for integrations. So you pay them, and then they'll integrate you and stuff. But this can be a very tricky slope. You pay, and then if no one uses it, it's just basically money burnt. And there's a lot of like wasted money. This is something that I would say that ideally we don't have to do, right? Like I think Dash is an example of using a lot of budget to gain adoption. And I don't know, I mean, yeah, maybe they have gained some adoption, but I still think based on the amount of money that they spend, it's not really sustainable. This is all my own personal opinion, all right? But yeah, they pump so much money into gaining adoption, and I don't know if pay to play is the way to go. I feel that if people believe in the project, there's sufficient liquidity on the exchanges. Of course, it's a bit chicken and egg, but we really I'm not a big believer of paying a lot of money for integrations. If it's just about paying like $2,000-3,000 maybe for the cost of holding it. But if people are asking for like $100,000 or something like that, or like very big amounts, which we have been offered before, like I think if you want to be integrated on Pornhub, they were asking for about that $100,000 a year. So those of you who wanted that Pornhub integration, I think you should stick to the free version.
Well, one thing that's kind of funny is there were some numbers leaked in regards to usage of was it Verge, I believe that
Yep.
integrated onto Pornhub or Tron, one of the shitcoins, and essentially what ended up happening is that there was so few transactions actually going through Pornhub that they were losing out on someone did the math, and they were losing out on a significant amount of money a month in just due to their integration cost. Man, when did I get stutter?
Yeah, the marketing guy that was promoting Pornhub to me, he was from Pornhub itself, was saying like, "Oh, we're seeing amazing numbers," but I think that quickly tapered off. But yeah, all right, enough about porn. MCO. All right, so does anyone have questions on the dev fund, the current community sentiment, anything?
HK
Well,
have
HK
a question, but H.
Huh? Oh, HK, Akshay, you mean?
Yep.
What backend does a Sigma integration to Edge wallet use? Yes, we actually have a modified Electrum light wallet that does have all this stuff. So that's basically how it is. I think we can release it soon. I'm not sure if it's been released. Actually, if you take a look at that PR on Edge, you might actually see it. But the modifications have been on the Electrum side, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe Ara might know more. Yeah. Okay. Does anyone
For
have any? Sorry.
for AWP, definitely come down, guys. We're at 41 members. We need more people.
Yeah. The AWP is the Zcoin adoption working group. Maybe someone can drop the link in the channel. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we sent out 150 emails. Well, I haven't updated the chat yet, but Scott, we sent out 150 emails yesterday, or at least I did, and already getting some responses. Quite interesting to see that when you make it sound like you're not going, or when you make it very clear that you're not going to charge any money, the tone changes very fast.
Mm. Okay, great. So, okay, let's move on to the next question, unless someone has any questions. Kitsune is typing. Is there anything on YouTube? Any questions from the YouTube?
No questions on YouTube. 15 viewers.
Okay, all these stalkers. All right. Okay, so let's talk about the dev fund, right? How long should it be for? Now, of course, we talked about like how much should the block reward be, and 12%, 15%, or 20%. Of course, there are some people who say anything below above 10% is greedy and we are scam. I saw that, but I hope that after showing this, you can see that we're not really rolling in it, right? But basically, how long should the dev fund be? Now, the idea, 2 years is definitely not long enough for sustained development, but the idea of a 2-year period is to give us more pressure to decentralize and give us make us more accountable to the community. Because whatever happens is that, by the end of 2 years, definitely, I mean, Lantus would be fully deployed with direct anonymous payments, you know, and the project should be in a healthy state. So even if we don't do anything, we hope that at the end of 2 years, everything that we set out to build is there, like wallets, everything, the things that we wanted to do. Um, and whether we also want to assess to see, okay, is ECS funding working? Is Open Collective working? Is Open Collective is like paying for all our bills? Maybe we don't need a 4-year dev fund, right? And the idea is that, yeah, at maybe like 6 months before the expiry, or even 1 year before the expiry, we can start talking about should this development fund be renewed. But it means that it is on us to prove to the community that we deserve to have this development reward extended. This is personally my preference. Poramin actually prefers to have 4 years. I mean, I also respect that opinion as well. Obviously, there's clear benefits to having 4 years. The benefit of 4 years is that, first of all, there's more certainty and ability to keep talent. I can tell my developers, like, look, we have funding for the next 4 years, and we can make longer term plans there. There's also less possibility of a schism because, for example, there may be a group to say, "Oh no, Ruben sucks ass," or the current core team sucks ass. Let's get a whole new group to come in, and maybe that is actually the cost of decentralization, that we can be pushed out, and maybe that's healthy as well. But it also creates the opportunity of fragmenting the community. There's a lot of trust placed in the current team if you give us another 4 years. So that's maybe seen as good and bad if you're happy with what we're doing. But yeah, so 2 years kind of like, I guess the idea of 4 years is that maybe investors might feel, someone actually had a phone call with me who was really, really trying to tell us, actually most of the people who are like VCs, or those that are like more high net worth people, they have been quite quite strong opinion to say that we should go along the 4-year period, because it gives certainty that this project has legs to continue upon. And of course, I see that point. But if we have 2 years, and with the idea that if we do a good job, it'll be extended, which would be a more preferable way to kind of do it, right? And the other thing is perpetuity. Some people have kind of proposed that. I personally don't think that's a great idea. It'll be good to have some sort of development fund that's governed in a decentralized way. I haven't seen a really good mechanism that this doesn't lead to like oligopoly or like a couple of people just make it basically fake governance. Um, I think that maybe in the long term there should be a death fund, but it should not be in the current way where it's just given to one party. So if we can set up some sort of structure that would make it like yes, there's a death fund, but it's much more decentralized, then I'll be for that. But I think in the meantime, in this immediate need that we need to decide, we should decide whether it's 2 years or 4 years.
Is it a binary option? Because what I was thinking is that if it's a 2 year 2 year rate, and then we could have it as in like if the community likes it and it makes sense, at the end of the 2 year period we can have an expedited, hey, general consensus is just keep it for 4 years, and quickly add another 2 years without having to go through the massive request for comment process like we're going through right now.
The thing is that we need to put something in the code, right? So should we put 2 years in the code or 4 years, right? Or we put 4 years in the code and then it's kind of like putting it in our hands. It's like by default that we already have it, so there's not much pressure to get community support. If you see what I'm saying. The idea is that Zcoin as a project already has a lot of advantages that cannot be easily replicated, because if you fork our project and go off, you need to regain all the exchanges and all those listings and all the liquidity and all that sort of stuff. So whatever it is, whatever we put in code has a lot of saying, like unless we pull off like a Justin Sun and totally disenfranchise the community, that the community is so pissed off that they would create a new fork and forego all those exchanges, right? But like that's why we have to decide, like, do we put 2 years in the code or do we put 4 years? If we put 2 years in the code, then we should have that discussion, like whether people are happy with us. Yeah.
Yeah, we could put 4 years in and then have people discuss it at 2 years. That way, it's not really at the 2 year mark. You're not having Zcash style panic discussions. I know that's not a fair comparison, but I know that they had. I think they had some disagreements between their foundation and their other entity, but it's similar in the sense that if they had stayed in that gridlock, they could have potentially had a situation where there was funding stopping for either their foundation or the corporation that they their founding corporation, I guess.
True, but that's the cost of decentralization, right? You have to open yourself to potential disagreements. I mean, that's the point. If we put it at 4 years, it would most likely continue to 4 years unless we do something really, really bad. But I don't know. Maybe it's not much. And that's why I want to hear people's opinions, right? If people are happy with 4 years, I'll be like, great. I definitely have a job for the next 4 years unless I do something really bad. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing. Yeah.
You need to go
Yeah.
full Justin Sun.
Yeah. D Holidays typing something. Do I prefer 4 years? I don't know. I mean, I said that I like 2 years, but I also, of course, like the idea of 4 years. I'm actually, I don't mind either, really. But it should be the community that weighs in, and I'm a bit worried that no one is saying anything. I mean, it seems like everyone's like, okay, we'll go with whatever I say, which, yeah, benevolent dictatorship, right? If there's no questions, all right, so let's quickly go through this. We are approaching the 1 hour mark and we're almost gone through the presentation. And at the end, we can have a quick just a see a round of supports that we can discuss this. So impact of halving on Z nodes. So as you can see, currently, if you maintain it at 30%, the rewards per annum drop from about 14% to about 7%, which is about right. If we push it to 35%, it goes up to like 8%. And if you push it to 40%, it goes up to 9%. Assuming that all the number of activated Z nodes remain, I actually expect that at halving, the number of Z nodes might actually drop, then it might equilibrize and maybe be a bit higher. But this is about market demand. So now, we actually don't need that many Z nodes to have, I would say, a healthy Z node network. It'd be nice to have like 2,000 to 3,000 nodes. At the very minimum, we probably need 1,000 nodes. But obviously, having a larger number technically means more decentralization also. So I mean, these figures is a big if. Like, we don't really know how many of them will remain. We might see a drop in the Znode numbers, especially if people say like, oh yeah, the Znode hosting is costing too much. Because obviously, if you to put things in perspective, for 1,000 Zcoin, you are getting 7%, which is like 78 Zcoin for like seven. I think the last I calculated, if I put it at 35%, it's like 78 to 79 Zcoin for the whole year. So yeah, it's not a huge amount. It's a decent rate of return, but once at this current price, when you factor in the cost of the Z nodes, it's not a lot of money. So yeah. But the bright side is that if more of the coins go out of Z nodes, we have about like 60 over percent locked in Z nodes. And I'm not sure if that's a good thing, because that has also affected liquidity on exchanges. If more people, more of the reward actually, more of the Z coin is actually floating freely, that may lead to higher liquidity of the coin. So that's also something to consider. Okay. The other thing is that the blockchain size of Zcoin increases about 21 gigs a year. So unless we change our proof of work to something like prop power or something else, the cost of Z nodes will constantly increase each year, and it's not going to be fun. Yes. So how about the impact of halving on miners? Currently, it's about 91 gigahash. And before halving, it's like 121,000 Zcoin per month before halving, which is the 56% of the block reward. Currently, just a very rough estimate, we have about 35,000 GPUs, and they're earning about 3.5 Zcoin a month each. It's not a lot. That means per GPU, like if you have a mid-range GPU or so. After halving, that drops down a lot. Of course, it will automatically adjust with less GPUs mining and whatnot. And that's why we think that it's important for chain locks to be activated prior to the halving, so that we will get protection from 51% attacks, at least after the halving. Okay. So I think that is the end of my presentation. We are opening it up for questions and discussions. If people want to talk, please do. And I think for the development fund, I think the first thing we want to decide is, let's decide what percent of the block reward people are comfortable with, right? If I would say it's between 15 to 20. But then, does anyone here right now really, really strongly feel that that 12 should be in as well? Or should we just say, like, let's have just a community sentiment? What do people feel about 15? What do people feel about 20? Or anything in between 15 to 20? Okay. The holiday 15. The 6 says 20. Marcus says 20.
I'm going to advocate for 20. I mean, if we want to do a code audit, and that's going to cost $100,000, 15 just doesn't cut it.
Mhm.
We've only got at the current budget maybe 10,000 USD a month extra. So you'd need to basically save up for a whole year, assuming the price doesn't drop.
This is, of course, assuming that Zcoin stays at 4, right? If we are at 10, then obviously a lot less people will be saying 20. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, so it would also, maybe we can put a cap on where it goes over $100,000 or something. We would go into a separate fund for market making or emergencies or marketing.
Yeah. And we will be happy to disclose that number of how much we're actually putting aside. And yeah. 20, 20, 20. Correct. So Kitsune, I mean, is it definitely the judge how much? What if Zcoin goes to $15 in 3 months? Then you get a lot more. But I think what our general thing is to saying that we will not be authorized to spend more than 100,000 unless we have like community or some committee to approve it. Even if we don't have it, we'll just put it aside and everyone can see that amount just sitting on the side. 100 is actually not a lot. I can tell you that most projects are running with a lot larger, even with smaller market caps, they have a lot larger overheads than us, like easily 200,000 or so.
Yeah, I mean, you could pay $200,000 a year for a developer, $500,000.
Does anyone else want to weigh in?
Am I supposed to weigh in?
It's up to you. Yeah, you can. Anything on the YouTube? 20%.
That's a negative.
Okay. 2020, right? 15. Hi, I'm cutting your salary. No, just okay. Okay. Tyke, what's your reasoning behind 15? I just wanted to listen just because you're in the minority and I just wanted to understand why 15, why 20, right? Because 20 obviously people are like, oh yeah, there's some overhead and stuff like that.
I don't think Tyke's mic is working.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the chat. It's interesting. No one on Telegram is typing, which is usually the converse. Okay. To me, the only reason I would ask for 15% is so that we don't seem like, it doesn't generate negative press that, oh my God, these guys are so greedy, right? I think that's a really big, yeah, that's as Joe said.
I'm more pessimistic than you guys. I'm pretty sure that it's like just in general, even though people will complain at 20%, they'll complain at 15% too. It's like a 5% difference, right? It's people
It
in
is
crypto complain either
psychologically
way.
low too.
My only concern is they didn't post in the forums, they didn't come here, they didn't say anything in the Telegram.
Yeah, that's right. The thing is that the forum community consensus has been about 15 because that's also what I asked for then before the price dropped. Okay, so I think the majority goes for 23 for 15. I'll have a discussion and see where we go then. We might be something in between.
17.5?
I'm down for that.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have the cognitive dissonance of 20%, I guess.
Yeah. I just need to see that that it divides nicely so that it doesn't look like a really weird number from the 12.5 reward. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I think the general consensus has 20, with some people for 15. I wouldn't say that we're going with 20. Let me just discuss that. It'll probably be something in between, because I also don't want to discount the many people that said 15 in the forums as well. So maybe it should be something in between. I will discuss with the team and see how that goes. Okay, so we have some consensus there, unless someone is very violently opposed. Okay, so the next thing is dev fund for how long? 2 years, 4 years, perpetuity. Please don't vote perpetuity. But yeah, if you do feel that, I do think that we need a better structure to do that, rather than just going into one team. So can everyone who voted before please voice up 2 years? We review every 6 months. Like in between or what? Every 6 months that we are being subject to it's going to be really hard. I do think the 2 year, yeah, because if 6 months, yeah, it's almost we don't even have time to complete anything. Um, to As I said, I think one of the worries is that what happens if the price goes up too much. I think I can stay here. That I'll make a commitment here that anything above 100,000 would be put in a separate fund and not touched, unless we will be forming a committee that we can't be core members that are part of it, and or run one of these community talks and whatnot. We'll be completely transparent on any amount that is above 100,000. The only thing that I don't want to be totally transparent about is how much we're paying our developers and researchers and stuff like that. I think it's good enough to have an aggregate figure. But yeah, anything above 100,000 will be put in a separate fund, and we'll need to get some sort of community approval, whether it be a committee or one of these calls to see how people feel about it. Okay, seems can you tally the votes? 4 years with a check-in I think the check-in at 2 years would be good. Even if we extend it to 4 years, we should have a check-in to make sure that keep us accountable and responsible now.
Yeah, and that way, if you guys, it's called, what was that project that absconded to like Honolulu or something? Zcoin vacation or something,
Okay. Sponsor everyone to come to Kuching.
Hey, if we get over 100K in the fund, we should fund that bouncy house proposal I made, the ZFC1. Remember that?
God, no, I don't. Okay, so has everyone voted okay, 9 for 4 years, 1 for 2 years, 1 for 2 of what? 1 for 2 or 4 years. What's that? Who's that? 1 or 2 or 4 years. Oh, D Holiday. That doesn't help, D Holiday. You need to decide on one. Okay, 4. Right. 10 for 4, 1 for 2, but I think we all agree on the check-in. All right, so we have consensus in that. So we'll go with 4 years with a check-in on 2 years with understanding to reassess the situation. So I think we'll commit to that. Okay, great. All right. Okay, now the difficult ones. Which is import or halving on Z nodes and miners. So what should be wait, let's just assume that it's 20, but we'll divide it in the right proportions. because it may be something in between. But let's decide, like, assuming there's no death reward, how many percent should go to miners and how many percent should go to Z nodes? Yeah. Okay, yeah. Let's just follow muggers there, and if we reduce it, we'll do the right apportionment. So, let me just put in a few. Let's see. Oopsie daisy. So, anything. So, I guess 30, 50? 50 Z notes, 50 minus 35 Z notes, 45 minus 40 Z notes, 40 minus. I think these are the three options. All right, so let me just put like A, B, C so people can A, B, C. Can there be a poll? Let's see. How do I do a poll? Does anyone know how to do it? So no, I don't know how to do that.
You can do it on Telegram, but not on Discord.
Oh, that's fine. Okay. All right. Let's see. Let's have an informal vote. 20 Z notes. What? 20 Z notes, 60 Z notes, 100% Z notes. B A. Oh yeah, reactions. Ah, good idea actually. Let me do the reaction thing.
Just remember that there's no reaction for C.
Okay, C
Vacant.
can be I don't know, a hot. Oh, that's
What
a
about
C.
the
Oh,
that's a
C. Okay, great.
But it's just a blue C.
What's 9? Oh, there's the shield D, right?
This looks to be a close one.
Yeah, 4, 4. AJ, are you actually voting for C, or are you just like putting it there to get the
C.
Huh? Sorry?
Listing C. My choice is A.
Oh, okay. All right. So we have to take away that vote if at the end. Okay. So there's no one voting for C. All right. Is that it? I guess it. That's how. All right. That's fine. Forum sentiment. So most people are going for A. Okay. Let me take a look at the community sentiment. Interesting. I would have expected more people voting for the Xenos, but a lot of people like actually the A. Okay.
It makes more sense if Prague POW goes through as well, right? Because we're going to be
Yeah.
expecting.
All right.
And
So
more
it looks
liquidity.
like the consensus is wow, it's really close. A, which is 30 Xenos, 50 minus, but the forum is 35. What are you gonna do there? I think some of you who voted there have changed your minds, haven't you? So you're having your vote kind of almost double counted. So no one's going for 40-40, so it will be either B or A. Right now, of course, A has more, but then the thing is that the forum, a lot more people say B. So we'll make a decision on that. Okay. All right. So I guess that's the end of the meeting. I will post the decision at the end by the end of this month. So yeah. Oh, a lot of people voted C. Akshay and Catch a lot. Do you guys even have Z notes? Okay.
Please don't go Diablo way of. Don't you guys have phones?
Yeah. Oh my god, that was bad. Okay, people who voted for C should be forced to vote for A and B. Okay, we're taking C off the table, and those so Akshay, Catch a lot, and regional reacted with regional indicator. No, that's just Catch a lot and Akshay, right? Yeah. So remove the C, AJ. Remove your C. Oh, Zenyatta. No, you can vote still, Zenyatta. Okay, what did Zenyatta vote for? This is actually not like anonymous voting. We should point the gun to people's heads who vote otherwise.
It's a tie now. 6-6.
Which one is B?
7.
The moment B gets a thing, we should go with B because of the forum decision.
The forum was 50% to minus, right?
That was assuming a 15% to developer reward. Yeah. But I think whatever it is, if we do get the thing, whatever spare from the developer, like if we reduce it, we'll go to the minus. So it should be fine. Okay, great. I think we have a consensus. So let me just repeat, see if anyone doesn't agree with me. I think B seems to be the close winner. So 35 Z notes, 45 minus, and anything between 15 to 20 for development. But any additional goes to minus. Any spare balance. Why is it not posting? Okay. Why is it red? Retry. Okay, is everyone okay with that? Yeah, I don't know what has happened
We
to
can't
my.
see it. You have to refresh it.
The red text you should have
Yeah, I did.
reset, but
I did. But it's okay. John Smith has posted.
Final decision is should be at the end of this month.
Yep, end of this month, which is like 5 days. I just need to run through a few things and then we'll decide. Okay. So let's have a quick recap. 4 years dev fund with in at 2 years. Okay. Anything above 100K gets put in a separate fund that needs committee or community approval to use full transparency on this fund. Okay, and then 35% Zeno, 45% minor, and 15 to 20% dev fund with spare balance to minus. Please post. What's wrong with Discord?
If you can't
Okay.
post, send it to me. I'll post it in the general.
I don't know if I can post it to you.
No, I don't see it in the general.
Oh, okay. I could post it. Wow, don't tell me I've been muted in our own channel. I posted to you in Discord. Okay, does everyone here agree that this is the rough consensus that we have obtained from this meeting and also the forums? Of course, we're not gonna get like exact things, but I think this is roughly what we're gonna get, right?
My post isn't posting either. You might have to do it over voice.
Whose post? Your post?
My text. Yeah, it's also going red
Oh.
in the general chat. So everyone might have to pipe up
Oh,
over
you can
voice.
post in Telegram.
Oh, yes.
Okay. That's good. At least finally we have reached some consensus. I would have liked to see more numbers, but we had 1 year to do this. We had several meetings to do this. So I don't think anyone can complain, although they will complain. All right. Thanks a lot, everyone. Does anyone have any final questions? Any questions, takeaways, anything that you want to ask about? We have about 10 minutes to do that. Oh, by the way, I have some good news. Flare Wallet, which is from the next project, will be integrating us for free. And it would have the new masternode support, which actually allows people to run masternodes on their mobile wallet. I don't know whether people want that, but you can if you want. And he said that he's actually open to enabling like Sigma or Lantus transactions as well. So Flare Wallet, check it out. Can someone post a URL for that? Let me see. Flare Wallet.
They're a coin powered one, right? They have their own coin that they're using.
Yeah, Nix. Nix, which is a fork of Zcoin. But they changed quite a bit, I think. Yeah. Oh, yes, correct. So yes, please, again, real big thank you to everyone who donated to Open Collective. Actually, I think I can end this. How do I end this presentation? Oh no. I'm really bad at this. How do I end this? Escape. Oh, shit. Yes. Open Collective Zcoin. All right. So right now we have a. Let's see how much do we have. We're getting every month. Maybe like 100 over dollars. It's not a lot, but every bit helps. And I aim to at least cover the server expenses of infrastructure expenses. So our first target is $1,000 a month. So just a time to shield this. You can make a one-time donation. Of course, we would prefer recurring contribution. And at $5 a month, you get a flare on Discord and Telegram. Okay, so you can say that you contributed to us. And at $10, you get listing as friends of Zcoin. Not much difference, but you also get the previous perks. At Champion, you start to get some merch, the T-shirt, hats. You get a personal shout out, during our next update video. And at night, which is $100 US. You actually even get a hardware wallet still mnemonic, and you will get access to our summaries of our weekly dev meetings, and if you want, you can have a phone call with us, or like a meeting with us with all the previous perks as well. So yeah. All right. If no one has any questions, thanks a lot for attending, and we'll post the minutes of this meeting on the blog, and really appreciate anyone who took the time to come here. Aram, do you want to say anything? Anything to add, or did Pike left? Yeah, Pike left already.
Oh, actually, nothing from my side.
Sorry, nothing from your side? Another really cool thing is that Aram released a new paper on hierarchical one of many proofs. So those of you who are technical minded, you do check it out. So thanks everyone. And we are at the 1.5 hour mark, just about. So that's a good time to end. Thanks everyone. Take care.
See you guys.
Thank you for attending.
Thanks. Bye bye.
Cheers. Bye.
How do I end the stream?